students, in this video we are going to discuss about one of the most important teaching learning method, that is cooperative learning. So in this particular video we'll be particularly focusing on a question that was asked in NTA UGC NET December 2022 exam, and through this question we are trying to figure out some of the major points, especially the 5 important basic steps or elements that are associated with cooperative learning. So firstly we'll be just focusing on the question. So the question goes like this: according to David and Johnson, which of the following are the basic elements of cooperative learning groups? And we have various options given here: self-conceptualization, individual accountability, skill development, positive interdependence, and promotive interaction. So the question focuses on the basic elements, or the 5 important elements that are associated with, you can just say it as 5 different steps as well, that is associated with cooperative learning. So they have given us certain options, and from these options we have to identify the basic elements that are associated with cooperative learning. So before moving into that, we'll be particularly focusing on what do you mean by this cooperative learning, and also especially these 5 important elements. So what do I mean by cooperative learning? So cooperative learning is basically a student-centered teaching learning method which is facilitated or which is guided by a teacher. So cooperative learning is an instructional method in which students work in small groups to accomplish a common learning goal. So as I have already mentioned, this is a student-centered or a learner-centered teaching method or instructional method in which the students are working in small groups. They'll be having certain common goals, and these students will be working in small groups in order to accomplish certain common learning goals. So as I have already mentioned at the beginning, when we consider cooperative learning, what are the various perspectives that you require? First and foremost, this cooperative learning can be associated with student-centered teaching or instructional method. And now we'll be just focusing on the 5 different important elements or the 5 basic steps that are associated with cooperative learning. So which are the 5 basic steps, or we can call it as the 5 different elements that are associated with cooperative learning? It includes positive interdependence, then you have individual accountability, group processing, interpersonal and social skills, and finally promote interaction. So these are the 5 different steps or elements that are associated with this cooperative learning. So now we are just focusing on each of these steps or elements in detail. So what do you mean by positive interdependence? So students work as cohesive groups to achieve shared learning objectives. So we already said that what happens in the cooperative learning, the students or the learners are working in small groups in order to achieve certain common learning goals, right? So in that manner, these groups, they are associating with each other, and the students are working in groups in order to achieve shared learning objectives. So we say that there is an element of positive interdependence that can be considered as one of the basic steps or elements that is associated with cooperative learning. Then the next one is individual accountability. So as these students are working in groups, they have individual accountability, or they have their own parts to play, right? So they have an accountability to this particular group, or in this endeavor of achieving a particular goal. So they have individual accountability. So that is again a very important point that you have to remember. Students do their best work, share ideas, and help group function efficiently. So as they are a part of this particular small group, they have their own shares of doing things, or they have to work, they have to provide, they have to share their ideas, they have to do their best in order to function, or in order to make this group activity more efficient. So that is individual accountability. Each individual in the group, or each individual student in the group is having an accountability towards this group. So that is a very important element that is associated with cooperative learning. processing. So what do you mean by group processing? By reflecting on the learning process, the effectiveness of contribution of the members in the group improves. So as they'll be reflecting on their own contributions or how effective they are contributing to this group, and that's how they are improving as a group. They are processing these things and they are improving. So group processing is important. Then we have interpersonal and social skills. So students work together, trust each other and resolve conflicts constructively to achieve a common goal. So when we are a part of a group, so we already said that in cooperative learning, these students, they are a part of a particular small group, right? So when we are working together with other people in a group, that will obviously enhance, or that will obviously improve our interpersonal as well as social skills. We are practiced, or we are actually getting an opportunity to cooperate with other people in a group, so that will actually enhance our interpersonal skills, the social skills, how to associate with other people, how to work together with other people. These are all skills that we are learning through these group activities, right? So interpersonal and social skills is a very important element that is associated with cooperative learning. And the final one is promote interaction. So students assist and interact with each other to solve problems. So they have certain common goals to achieve, and they will be communicating, they will be interacting with each other in the group, and through these interactions they are trying to solve that particular problem that is in front of them. So these are the 5 different basic steps, or we can call it as the 5 important elements that are associated with cooperative learning. What are they? Positive interdependence, individual accountability, group processing, interpersonal and social skills, and finally promote interaction. So coming back to the question that we have seen in the beginning, it goes like this. According to David and Johnson, which of the following are the basic elements of cooperative learning groups? And we have the options: self-conceptualization, individual accountability, skill development, positive interdependence, and promotive interaction. So if you just consider the options, and if you just try to remember what we have discussed so far, the 5 basic elements or steps, from the options we can say that option B, individual accountability, positive interdependence, and promotive interaction. These are 3 different options that you can consider as elements, basic elements of cooperative learning groups. So in that respect, we can say that B, D and E will be the right answer. B, D and E only is option C. So the right answer is option C itself. So in this video, we have discussed a very important instructional method, that is cooperative learning, and particularly we were focusing on the important steps or important basic 5 elements that can be associated with cooperative learning or cooperative learning groups. So this is a very important area, especially in the recent exams. In the very recent exams, we can say that in various shifts they have explored this area. So make sure that you know these 5 important basic elements that can be associated with cooperative learning. So this kind of a very systematic approach to an exam or paper 1 is a very important thing that you have to focus, because if you just focus on the previous year question papers, you can definitely identify the core areas that you need to focus, and also the new areas, the additional areas that you have to focus when you are preparing for your next attempt. So you should have to make yourself updated when you're approaching each and every exams, especially when it comes to general paper or paper 1. So this kind of a very updated systematic approach is what Appleby follows for our paper 1 coaching. So if you want to know more about our courses, we have both classroom as well as online courses available here. So if you want to know more about our courses, you can just contact the number that is given in the description box. So thanks for watching and happy learning.